Hello, historians. I'm going to be reading you an excerpt from our textbook all about the Peloponnesian War. Let's begin. Greek against Greek, the Peloponnesian War. One important city state that never joined the Delian League, Sparta, the great warrior state ruled by a privileged oligarchy, from their citadel deep in the Peloponnese, the Spartans watched with alarm the growth of Athenian power. They had seen the Athenians intimidate their neighbor and roll over anyone who stood in their way. The Spartans were not eager for war with the Athenians. The two city states had a treaty. Sparta knew that war with its eastern neighbor would be long and costly. Besides, the Spartans were land fighters and they had no interest in ruling the sea. But when the Athenians began to bully one of Sparta's allies, the Spartans decided to take action. In 431 BC, the war toughened soldiers of Sparta once again donned their armor, grasped their shields, and prepared for battle, this time against Athens. In the war to come, the many city states of Greece took sides with either Sparta or Athens. Many of Spartan's allies came from the Peloponnese, the southern part of mainland Greece. That area gave the conflict its name, the Peloponnesian War. The Athenian leader Pericles knew the power of the Spartan army, but he had faith in the walls of Athens, not just the stone walls that encircled the city like protective arms, but the wooden walls that were their city ships. The Athenian navy launched attacks on the Peloponnese, and the Spartans made raids near Athens. But neither was able to deliver the decisive blow. For most of the war, the two sides were at stalemate. The Athenian attacks were bothersome, but they never really threatened Sparta. As for the raids of the fearsome Spartan army, Pericles had an answer. When the Spartans approached, he told the Athenian troops to take refuge inside the city. They could live off the vital shipments of grain that continued to arrive aboard the Athenian ships. And then catastrophe struck. A terrible plague broke out in the overcrowded city, perhaps carried by a ship from Egypt. People began to die by the hundreds and then thousands. Lawlessness took over the city, and the Athenians began to lose heart. By the time the plague was over, a quarter of the population was dead. Among the victims was Pericles himself. The plague-stricken Athenians were wary of war. Desperate for victories, they launched a great expedition across the Mediterranean Sea to the city-state of Syracuse, located on the island of Sicily. Syracuse was rich and powerful, and a rival of Athens. A victory there would bring much needed treasure to Athens. But the expedition was a disaster. Thousands of soldiers died and hundreds of warships were lost. But for the shocked Athenians, the worst was yet to come. Sparta had been building its own navy and was now prepared to challenge its enemy at sea. And in 405 BC, the unthinkable happened. The Spartan fleet attacked and defeated the Athenians in the water of the Aegean. The people of Athens were devastated. Following their naval victory, the Spartans blockaded the city by land and by sea. For a time, the Athenians held out, but many of their allies saw their chance to break free of the Delian leader. The city's vital grain shipments from the Aegean was cut off and starved into submission. After nearly 30 years of war, the Athenians surrendered in 404 BC. The victorious Spartans marched into Athens. They broke up the empire and cut the Athenian navy down to a small fleet. Some of the enemies of Athens demanded that the city be sacked and burned and its citizens sold into slavery, but the Spartans refused, and as a mark of respect for the Athenian heroism during the Persians. Still, the Spartans did try to wipe out Athenian democracy. They set up an oligarchy of 30 men to rule the city. The oligarchs, who became known as the 30 tyrants, treated the Athenians with great brutality. A year after the surrender of Athens, the people overthrew the oligarchs. A shaky democracy returned to the humbled city of Athens. Wow, what a story.